Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Whenever this word comes up, right away, it usually piques attention, but a lot of people don't know a lot about it. So we're going to learn more today about astrology. And it's one of the things in her wheelhouse as an energy medicine healer, Reiki master. She's like all things metaphysical. True soul healing is what she does. And she's back with us. Jessica Poretto is on the program. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, Steve. How are you?
I'm well. And astrology for decades has intrigued me. As I understand it, it's a science. You know, when people say, oh, come on, yeah, really, those two signs or the traits in that sign, it is a science. So where do we start with this? Because some people know some stuff, some people don't.
So I guess we would start, most people know it by in the papers, you read your astrology, your zodiac sign, when you were born. And then it's kind of just read whatever for the day or the week. Growing up, I used to always read, I guess, the comics and the horoscope.
Sure. Yep.
So it's not a religion. It's more of a symbolism. It's like a map, I guess, to our path, our destiny through the stars. So the time we were born, the exact time we were born, where we were born, makes a difference on, how our planets are lined up. And we're not just one particular sign, we're numerous signs. So our sun sign would be the day we were born. And that's what usually most people know it about, which I'm a Virgo.
So am I.
Twinsies. So your moon sign, though, would be different. Your moon sign is how you are, your emotions. And then you have your Venus, your Jupiter, your Saturn. So it all kind of goes together that way. And most people always, tease. Actually, I just had a conversation with someone last night. And he's like, do you really believe all that stuff? And I said, absolutely. I said, because, elements go together. So, fire would be Leo, Aries. And I get along, and Sagittarians, I get along well with them, but in a relationship, probably not so much because it's more fire and I'm earth. So earth and fire probably aren't the best match, but, they all have their own particular, elements, personality, traits, I would say.
Let's go with the signs, because I always get those confused. And I can't even remember what mine is. Earth, fire, air, water. I don't know.
You're earth.
Earth. Okay.
You're earth, and you are a mutable sign.
Meaning what?
Meaning, so there's cardinal, mutable. So that means like you're kind of, you go with the flow. You're either or, like feminine, masculine, yin and yang. So, and cardinals usually are the more, upper elements, I guess you would say. So there's a lingo for everything.
Yeah. And that's where I struggle with trying to remember what's what. But what
like,
you said before.
Your birthstone?
I'm sorry?
Like Virgos, they have their own birthstone, like a.
Sure.
Okay.
Aquarius is, I think, amethyst. I remember had a girlfriend from back in the day. And I'm talking like when I was like 18. I still remember that. I think I'm right. Huh? Yeah, I think I'm right about that. I don't even know what mine is. I don't know. What is it?
I think we're sapphire.
Sapphire. Okay. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, not a bad gem to have.
What you said before is what I learned recently, in that astrology is like a timeline. That's all it is. Yes. And when somebody does a reading for you, they're looking at a slice of the timeline to tell you what's coming up. And I will say, I had somebody read me, do my chart. Maybe it was a natal chart.
Yeah.
And this was in 21. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, right around there. And she said, come November, you're going to see more abundance. You're going to see more money. And she was spot on. It was exactly right. And then in the chart, which, I mean, it's just like hieroglyphics. I have no idea what I'm looking at. In one quadrant, she goes, see those three symbols there? I'm like, yeah. She goes, that's your kids. And I have 3 kids. And she said, the middle one, that is your son, meaning my son, not the sun. And I'm like, Yeah. And she goes, he's destined for a career in public service, law enforcement. Well, he wants to work for the FBI. How do you figure that
Really?
out? Yeah. And she knew all that just from what you said, your date of birth, time of birth, location. That's all I gave her. And that stuff you're not going to find on Facebook and, troll somebody and figure stuff out. That was my wake up. Oh, okay. We nailed this. We solidified it. This is the real deal. Have you had similar experiences in astrology?
Um, yes, I'm starting to learn more about it personally as for my clients. I've always done, use it for myself. There's a lot. Astrology is probably the hardest. I would say anything esoteric, metaphysical to learn because there's so much. There's a lot of science behind it and math, which is a lot. But it's they have houses and
Mm,
planetary positions but yes, it's since for the stuff that I do know, it works really well. It doesn't predict the future or an outcome. It just kind of gives you, you know, event planning, I would say.
right.
But it is pretty spot on because the moon and they say people go crazy during the full moon, or it's the complete opposite. I'm usually very calm and like straight headed, but the planets do have like Mercury retrograde, for
Oh,
instance.
yeah. Oh,
I mean, the computers never sign a contract during, Mercury retrograde, because it's not everything is not what it seems, it's going backwards. So,
or appears to be going backwards, the
yes,
planet Mercury. Yeah.
yes,
And I learned that one a long time ago, putting that on my radar. As a matter of fact, the next Mercury retrograde will be August 23rd,
yes.
typically for a 3 week period. And you don't do those things. You don't make major commitments, buy a car, buy a house, all of that stuff. And also back things up. That's my reminder. All your hard
Yeah.
drives, back them up. I can go on and on and on about tech issues that have surfaced during a retrograde.
Yes.
And if you look back, even cell service, I mean, I remember this is like 2010 or 2009, somewhere around there. During a retrograde, summertime, all cell service in the country shut down.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. I remember back then I had a BlackBerry.
I was
Was
just gonna say which I was thinking of the razor.
Yeah, it was. I had it for a
Yeah.
job, and I had another cell phone as well. But I'll never forget that. That was just the beginning of me realizing this. And you could say, people that are skeptical, all right, yeah, I come on. Well, all right, then why do all these things happen during the retrograde? Why does communication get wonky? Why do people from your past come back? Like you just randomly run into, I haven't seen you in decades. How you been? That
That
kind
would
of
be
stuff happens.
Venus, which is
Is
right
it?
now. Venus is in retrograde for 6 weeks, which is the
Oh,
planet of love. So you're going to have people that come back into your life, whether it's friendships or old relationships. Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, there's a lot
And
going on.
and I experienced that
Mhm.
in a relationship I had uh when I was married with a couple, and now I hang out with them. I don't know if my ex does, but I hung out with the guy last night, and it's like it's better than it was when I was married. Like, it's
Right?
like, yeah, like we're like really on the same page and everything. But yeah, stuff comes back. So let's look at the compatibility between signs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny because speaking individually, I always thought it was just your sun sign, but I believe it kind of has to do with all of them. So your sun sign would be your regular one, what everybody knows. But your moon would be your emotions, how are emotionally. So for instance, I'm a Scorpio. My moon is in Scorpio, so which is a water sign.
Okay.
So think about it this way: all the elements for each sign. So there's earth, fire, water, and air. It's I would say the personalities kind of match how the element is. So for instance, people who are air signs, they're very they don't like to be grounded. They don't like to sit still. They're okay to be get up and just pack their bags and go. Unlike a earth sign who's very grounded and who likes their home bodies, they're more, you know, to the earth. And most water signs I know are very just go with the flow, very relaxed, very intuitive.
So I don't know what signs are what.
Okay.
And the one you just said, the kind of flighty all over there. Um,
Aquarians. Aquarian's an air sign.
I
Libra's an
will
air sign.
okay, of the people I know that are Aquarians, they're out there, they're uh not so much grounded. They'll just, they can change on a moment. You can
Yeah.
throw something to them. However, they're very loyal and they have morals. Very important.
Yes.
It's, rule followers. That
Oh,
put
absolutely.
Yeah, work with somebody, and she's a friend as well.
Yeah.
What about Aries? What sign is that?
Okay, so that is Aries the ram. That is fire. So and it depends
Hmm.
on men and women are different too. I noticed.
Hmm.
Um, Male Aries, I think, are they're the chariot of the tarot. They're the ones who sweep in. They're very, save the day. Um,
I don't
Aries,
know any male Aries.
really?
I know lots of female Aries, including
Okay,
my mom was one too.
it's just strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The fire, definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
You said it was a fire sign.
Yep.
Describe a fire sign.
So a fire sign would be someone who is quick-witted, sometimes you could say tempered, um, loves life, has a zest for life, just is very impulsive, likes to just, quickly do stuff, can go from one extreme to the other, just kind of like fire.
Hmm.
When it's good, it's good. It's a slow burn, but it gets you.
When it
Um,
gets fired up, it gets fired up.
it gets but yep.
Yeah.
Plus, it
Uh,
depends on so for instance, most of the signs they switch zodiac days like around the 21st or 22nd of the month. So let's say somebody was born the 23rd. So they're
mhm.
going to have a lot of traits of both. They're cuspers, they call them. Um, and they'll have a little bit of mixture of both signs. It just depends on the other planets in their chart.
I want to do compatibility and hit up a couple of signs, but something popped in my head.
Okay.
Based on your knowledge, Jessica, is there one sign that you're stay away from that one? Is there one?
Um, well, I will say from track record, which is sad because my son is an Aquarius. And he's more of he's a Pisces. He's a cusper, literally. So we call them Piscearians.
Hmm.
But I would say Aquarius
Interesting.
and Sagittarians. I'm thinking Sagittarians.
Um, Aquarians, I'm okay with, and this is based on our history and lives and things like that.
Right.
This is not scientific or anything.
Yeah.
Um, Sagittarians, I watch them, but I'm good with them. Gemini,
I don't know that many Geminis.
mm,
And
yeah.
it's funny because that's one side. I think the two I do know though are very they're that double sting, They have that's a
Yes, and I've seen that, and I don't want to read into it because
yeah.
of the Gemini twins, and there's
Yes.
there's two faces. Um, but I found it to be extremely true.
Yep.
Um, and it doesn't hold all, the same for all, but for the most part, that's what I see. Like
Yes.
there's another side there whereby Virgos, I believe, being one, um, what you see is what you get. That's
Yeah.
it. There's nothing going on, smoke and mirrors or anything like that. And if you don't like it, too bad.
Yes, I know we are a tad of the like perfectionist. It's like has to be our way, and it's okay if it's not yours.
Right,
Ours is
right.
right.
Although
Yeah.
I will say I'm a reformed Virgo because I've let a lot of that go. Like a lot of the, make it perfect,
Yeah.
anal retentive and
Yes.
all of that. But I will say that when I do let some of it go and things get messy, I'm out of sorts. Like I don't feel like I can be as productive. I don't feel like I don't feel like I got my finger on the pulse of everything. Like you can't see, I'm a geek. I wire everything myself. I don't call anybody in. Been doing it since I was 9 years old. I just do it. I love it. I know it. And things were messy for like 2 years of wiring. Add this, add that. And last week I was like, I'm going to sit down and redo everything here. And it's not perfect. Because it would take too long. I get other stuff going on. But I feel so much more better that it's cleaner. The wiring is cleaner, not a mess and everything.
When did you do this yesterday?
There's last week.
Oh, so I just did mine yesterday because it was like right by my desk, and the way that my the guys that hooked up my Wi-Fi, they have it so tight, and my desk is bulky, so I can't move it. So there's wires, like bulks of wires, like just all
Right.
sitting up, and it was driving me nuts. So I decided to take everything apart, get some zip ties, and
Yes, I just same thing, same thing,
yeah,
and it's still going to look messy in the eyes of a Virgo, but it's better, and
right.
you just feel better. And somebody told me a very famous psychic told me years ago, very intuitive. This is where I learned a lot of this stuff from. That when you have stuff all over the place, it blocks the energy. And this is before I knew anything about energy. It's just like, all right, but it makes sense. Like there's not a flow. You need to have an
No.
energy flow.
And if you do have, like, for instance, I have so many cards and stuff, like this is a, but let's just say that that's like a person's home all over the place.
Hmm.
They also like energy, likes clutter, because it's cluttered mind. So if you have more of a kind of a pack rat house, or not, what do you call that? Hoarders.
Hmm.
There's probably quite a few of energy, few beings in there, because they like that. They're attracted to. So like when you're cleaning your house, always open your drawers and your cabinets and clean in there too, because they like they like little nooks and crevices.
Wow. All right. Didn't know
Yeah.
that. Hmm.
Yep.
And I mean, we can get into saging, but let's stay with in
Yes.
astrology signs that are compatible. Can you
Okay.
fire off a few
So
of them that you might know off the top of
yeah,
your head?
I would. So Scorpio, Scorpio and a Pisces, I heard, are 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 very good. They're both water signs. Virgo and Capricorn. That is our that's
Hmm.
our and a Taurus. Virgo and Taurus. Virgo and Virgo works out. It just depends on, like, it does depend on where the other where the signs lay. So I was with a Virgo for a while, and he was the complete opposite of me, literally. A little bit needy. I'm not a needy person, kind of had to be reassured, and that drove me nuts. But everything else was like perfection. Like we had the
Hmm.
same sense of humor. We had it
Hmm.
was great. It was just that one kind of like smothering part.
And I have a twin sister, and she's been with a Virgo for a long time,
Yeah,
and it works. But I see, knocking heads every once in a while.
yeah,
And I dated a Virgo 2 years ago.
hmm,
Um, but I find even in that sign, which is, I don't know if this is true of all signs, but I find depending on when you're born in a sign, you take on different traits.
absolutely.
So she was more of a Virgo, uh,
Leo.
Gemini, kind of, she was, very outgoing. Um, she actually is the one that said to me, and it would, in the beginning of my journey, I was like, what? She said, why don't you ever live in the moment? Why are you living in the moment? You're
Really?
always thinking about the past and about the future. And I was like, what are you talking about? This
So I
before I
see.
even, yeah, I got this. Now I got it. But that's where it started. She was Virgo, but she was like I'm the beginning of September. She's kind of mid September. So just a different kind of personality. So I can see how it can work, you know, I guess
Yeah,
if you're born on the same day, maybe not. I don't know.
maybe not. Right. It depends on, like you said, like your moon sign, your rising sign.
Hmm.
Your rising sign is what everybody else sees you as, like not really you, but what like the outside world, portrays.
Okay.
That would be your rising, which is for a Capricorn. So I have a lot of earth and I have mostly earth and water in my chart. I have one fire, which is how I love, which is your Venus sign, and that's a Leo.
Huh.
And so you get a lot of Leo Virgos, you get a lot of Virgo Libras. It's a big difference. Like towards the end of September, you have that air and water. So
Right.
what happens with air and water? Tornadoes.
Interesting.
So you get, so I mean, I look at it that way. I always think of it as an elemental thing. Fire and fire and water. Water it trumps everything, puts it out. But I mean, it just all depends on, where the person's placed in their birth chart, I guess. And there is that thing, I don't know if you've heard of the book, the horoscope birthday book. So there's
No.
like different, Virgo 1, Virgo 2, Virgo 3, depending on mid.
Oh, oh, I didn't even know that existed. And
Yeah.
what's the book called?
I think I might have it. The Virgo, it's called the birthday. the birthday book. Just and there's there's one for relationships. They have like a whole bunch of them, and it shows you like famous people that were born that day, and the traits of a Virgo 1, Virgo 2, or Leo 1, Leo 2. Gives you all the dates. It's pretty cool.
Wow. I find just again, this is personal experience. Me and Pisces don't really connect so much. They're kind of like knockheads a little bit. I don't
Really?
know, but that's
You
what
know
I've.
why? Pisces and Virgo literally are on the exact opposite spectrum of the birth wheel. So there's 12, 12 zodiac signs, and it's like yin and yang. So
Wow.
it just depends. See, I have a thing with Pisces. I think Pisces I get along very well with them. I've not sort of been in a relationship with one. It's a little difficult. They're very intuitive, extremely. Very
Really?
sensitive. Mhm. Yeah.
Hmm.
And they are, but they're
Stubborn?
yeah, very, very stubborn.
There
And
it
they're
is.
kind of like, they're up and they up and go
And
quickly.
I find myself as a Virgo, is like, I don't want to deal with that stubborn, like, come on, come on, come on, come on. Stop,
Yeah,
stop. Yeah.
it's tough.
Hmm.
It's tough. The Pisces women, I know a Pisces, she was such a great lady, but she's very quiet and she's always scoping out the room, and I know those eyes are she's very intuitive. She's never said that, but I always watch because she's in the know pretty much.
Hmm. What about Virgo and Cancer together?
So Virgo and Cancer, that's good. So it's not a bad match. It is, Cancers are air, right? Is it air? Yeah, I think they're air. They are the Cancers I know, they're older, but they're very to the point together. They do have, I don't want to say a dark side, but they
Hmm.
have, you would never know in a million years. It's almost like, wow, they literally go from one extreme to another, living their life, and you would never know in a million years.
Yep.
So they're very good at that. They could be the twins.
I haven't experienced it yet, but I can see like things could be, and then there's a whoop, all of a
There,
sudden a
yes.
change.
And it could be the slightest thing that you would never, for us, because we're so analytical, Virgos, and earth signs are so very analytical. They think about everything. Even when they're sleeping, their brain is still going. Cancers are that way, but in 2 seconds, it's like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
So and they're the crab.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes,
So,
yes, and yes.
so they're very adaptable to any situation, pretty much.
Um, yes, but there can be a quick switch.
Out
And
of no, yes.
yeah,
And you never
this is
see
very
it
true.
coming.
You never see it coming. This is true. Wow. That's like, again, based on experience, this is
Yeah,
not, the science side of it, but
and
and everybody's going to be different. So
right.
every site, because not everybody's not born on the same day.
No,
Um,
or birth
and
time
that's
is very important.
I think that's what you said last time we skimmed over astrology, in that your your date of birth, your time of birth, your location of birth is so important. And it's not really, deep stuff, but nobody else has that information. What are the
No,
chances?
right.
And even if I have a twin sister, I'm 15 minutes older. So we don't have the same exact time.
And that makes a big difference. And so, for instance, let's say that you're in, Chicago, and your mate is born in Indiana, and you might be born the same time, but there's an hour difference, right? Just 1 hour. Or the time change, especially like over across the map, is 24 hours, right? So I was born at 2:46 p.m. So a lot of people do these things online and they put their birth time in, and they're like, this isn't right. What's 14? Or so it's 14:46. And that, I guess it's like the ley lines and how the hemisphere is, that it's how your stars are aligned. So if you've ever had your chart done, which I've seen people who've actually had them tattooed on them, and I've seen a variety of different charts because I'll do them for my clients sometimes, but it's like there's lines everywhere, all over the place. Or, which is randomly weird, there is my brother, for instance, is Leo across the entire chart. And he's got I say a twin cousin, because my mom's sister was born literally They went into labor the same time. They were in next to each other in the hospital, so they're like twin cousins.
Wow.
Her map is completely different, and I think they're like 15 or 20 minutes apart. Also, my brother's 15 minutes or 20 minutes older, but my brother's chart is so tightly like the the little triangles are all together, unlike most people's charts where they're all over the place. And he has Leo for his son, is I mean everything. So he is a true blue Leo. He's the first person in 42 years I've seen that happen with.
Wow.
So it does make a difference on where you are located. And I don't know why, but it does.
I have to go look back in the exact time of my birth because I forget.
Some people don't even have that on their birth certificate, which I
Yeah.
come across a lot with my clients. I said, well, what time you were born? I don't know. I said, well, look on your birth certificate. There's no time.
Yeah. Yep.
I guess it depends on the state. Maybe I don't know.
And I
Or
was
when the
going by
doctor
what
decides to plug it in.
my mother had told me. So I go by memory, but it wasn't exact. But then I happened to find the paperwork. I hadn't seen it, decades, and it did have the time. I think it's
Yeah.
12:37 a.m. But I got to double check because you're just backing up. Excuse me, the fact that how important it is, especially when you're doing a natal chart.
Yes. And they go by and actual like people who do this, it takes hours and hours to do your astrology chart because they go through each house, each planet, I mean, it's science and math, like my worst nightmare almost because it's like my
Same.
two worst subjects.
Same
But
exact here. It
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. But it's so interesting because the people that you meet and then learning through the tarot, actually, most of the tarot cards are the zodiac sign because there's 12.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah. So it and each for the arcana cards, it's a different suit. So like I said, the chariot is actually the Aries. The hermit is the Virgo. Shocking.
Hmm.
The key and also in playing cards too. So before tarot, there was tarot chi, which is they've been made it from the zodiac sign. So like each person on the day they were born has a certain suit in the deck, like a king or a queen of diamonds, clubs. And it's I'm in the midst of learning that how to do that right now. It's very cool, but it's
Wow.
all related to nothing but the seasons, the zodiac signs. That's how they did it, and it's playing games and not actually divination, but it is divination. It's
It's
pretty
like
cool.
you're always learning, and this is just a piece of it. You, of course, Reiki, energy healing.
Yes.
Um, you have your location in West Palm Beach or out near. Is it in West Palm or just outside?
Palm Beach Gardens, right
Palm Beach.
outside
That's right. Okay.
Jupiter, Palm Beach Gardens. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, you can do everything online, whether it's card readings, whether it's energy healing, and all of that. How do we find you, Jessica?
You can find me at www.truesoulhealing.com or my Facebook page, which is True Soul Healing LLC. And I'm also or Google and
Hmm.
Instagram. Or my phone number is 561-444-2411.
And when's your birthday?
9/13/80.
So the person I was talking about, uh, that I knew a couple of years ago, she was 9/12.
Really?
Yeah.
Very
Yep.
cool.
And I think we're just gonna miss the retrograde, or just I don't know, maybe the tail end of it if it starts on the 23rd. But
Yeah, so
mine,
we're actually Mercury. Our sign, or I mean our planet is Mercury, which is communication. So that's what it stands for. So that makes
which that's the key point when it comes to Mercury retrograde, communicating. Like always double check before you hit send on a text and an email, any of
uh,
that. Read it.
you said it starts the 23rd, right? Yeah, I've jumped a week ahead a little bit.
Well, that's another point that it does. There's a pre-phase and a post-phase. So it's actually
Yeah.
kind of kicking in before that. So
Yeah, I did. I sent a wrong text yesterday and whoops.
it happens. It
It
happens.
does.
Uh,
Yes.
Jessica, always great talking with you.
You too, Steve. Thank you.
Learn a lot, and your passion for this is amazing. And you make things super clear. Like the astrologer that read me, she was great. Yeah, way out of my wheelhouse. Like, just I couldn't like what? Just tell me.
Like doctors, like when they tell you about something, it's like, I'm sorry, layman's terms.
Can you do that again?
That's science.
It is science again. Look forward to talking with you again real soon.
All right. Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.